Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I thought I would give you some recommendations on books to get you out of a reading slump, because we don't like to be in a reading slump, and it can and it does happen. I have been in multiple reading slumps before, whether it's because I've finished a series that is just so good that nothing else seems to just be comparing, or whether I've read maybe a string of books that have just been really average and I've kind of lost my motivation with reading and can't seem to get into anything. Reading slumps can happen for multiple reasons, and they are really hard to get out of, because what you also don't want to do is read the books that you've been really excited to read and then not enjoy them because you're in a reading slump. Most of the books in this are short, so they are literally probably no longer than 350 pages, because that is my tip number one. Don't start a book that's really long, okay? Keep the book short, sweet, snappy, and simple. These are the books that either got me out of my reading slump, books I really enjoy that I think are great stories just to quickly get through, 320 pages. They're not going to take you that long. You could probably get through them in 2 to 3 days. Get yourself back into the swing of things, because reading is a sport. So my first recommendation is 3 Swedish Mountain Men by Lily Gold. This is a rom-com, but it's got a why choose element to it, which I love. So why choose, multiple men love interests, doesn't need to pick one, gets to have them all, happy days. This is so good. This is like if you've read Credence, but you don't want it to be as serious and you want it to be more light and less taboo, you should read this. This is like, I wouldn't say necessarily it's a rom-com, but it's definitely a lighter, fluffier side, if you can describe why I choose romance as fluffy. But for some reason, this book manages to do it. It's a really, really good palate cleanser. It's spicy, it's funny, it's got romance, it just does everything. It just ticks so many boxes, and it's not going to take you too long to get through it, because the book itself is actually only 350 pages. Basically, in this book, Daisy ends up going through a breakup, decides to get away, so she decides to go out to, I can't even remember where, oh, Sweden. She goes, duh, it says 3 Swedish Mountain Men. Goes to Sweden and she gets stuck and then has to be saved by 3 Swedish Mountain Men, and she basically ends up getting snowed into their cabin. You can see where it's going. But what I will say is, the spice is great, but it's so wholesome as well. Like, it really genuinely is probably the most wholesome why choose romance I've ever read, and I would really recommend it. If you're not sure what to read, or you want to try something different, or you've been reading a lot of the same things and you're bored with what you're reading, this is a good palate cleanser, as far as why choose romance could go. Next up is Midnight Blue. This is a rockstar enemies to lovers romance, and it's by LJ Shen. Again, the book itself is not really that long, so 320 pages. So we've got our troubled rock star, Alex Winslow, who he needs to basically reform his image, and then Indy gets this job that she really needs, which is essentially babysitting him to make sure that he doesn't ruin his image, that he stays on track, that he behaves himself whilst on tour. So it's really great forced proximity. They don't start off on the best foot, but as they're travelling around together, the romance that blossoms between these two is so endearing. I just love it. She becomes his muse. Yeah, she becomes an inspiration for his songs, and he wants to be better for her. And it's just such a lovely romance story. And I love rockstar romance, and I think this is a really, really good one, because it ticks all of the boxes of the genre. I actually used this book as a palate cleanser. I sort of scanned my bookshelves, thought what looks like it's not going to take me too long to get through, and I love rockstar romance. So yeah, it is a contemporary romance. There's nothing dark about it. No dark romance, just a contemporary rockstar romance, but I really, really liked it. It's very easy, like the writing's not too complicated, the story's not too complicated. You can just sit down and fly through it and get back into the swing of things with this for sure. So another LJ Shen book, this is, well, she writes this with Parker S. Huntington, to be fair. This is My Dark Romeo. This is so funny. It's a rom-com. It's kind of set in like an affluent high society setting, where there's arranged marriages and enemies to lovers, that kind of thing. The banter in this book between the two characters is unmatched. It is actually so funny. Basically, Dallas and Romeo end up in an arranged marriage situation, and they cannot stand each other. But what I love about this book is that Dallas is one of the most relatable FMCs ever. She loves food, she's witty, she talks back, she won't take any rubbish. Like, she is just so funny. And Romeo, he's kind of like, I would say his character is, he's very sexy, he's very suave, he's kind of like brooding and a bit moody, and they are such opposites to each other, but it's so, the backwards and forwards between the two characters in this is so, so funny. The spice in it is so good. 350 pages again. Also, the cover is stunning, and it has the most amazing, like, chapter, what you call them? I don't even know, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's a really pretty book. Penpal by J.T. Geisinger. First of all, This is a book you can fly through. I think it's like 290 pages. I actually read this in one sitting. It took me 3 to 4 hours to read it. I could not put this book down. So this book, it's unlike anything I've read before. And I don't want to go into it too much because you need to go into this book blind. But just know it's a 5-star book for me. It's incredible. The twist is amazing. It has paranormal elements to it. And you need to read it. And I promise you, the spice does not disappoint. You will literally, once you've got through this book, you'll be like, right, where's the next? Where's the next dark romance? Where's the next romance? It really motivates you to get going because of just how good this book is. It is a literal masterpiece. The whole time I was reading this book, I didn't know where it was going. Like, I did not know where the book was going to go. And then where it ended up going, I've never been so shocked in my life. Really good. It's really well written. The spice is really good. We've even got like some kinks. I would say in terms of spice compared to the other books that I've recommended, definitely on the darker, dirtier side. But that's why it'd be a great palette. In fact, this would be a really great palette cleanser because I can guarantee you've probably not read much, if not anything, like this one. Now, just be warned, this is spicy. This is one of the spiciest books I've ever read in my life, which is The Dare by Harley LaRue. It's the novella and it's the prequel to The Loser's Duet. So you can read this on its own, then you can read The Loser's Duet down the line if you want. So it's very, very short, like 140 pages. And it is the spiciest book I have ever read. And it all takes place on one night at a party. Just the kinks, the spice, it's why choose. Story is actually so good. It's also bully romance in an academic setting. She ends up at this party losing a dare, and Manson, who, by the way, Manson, I love you. Manson ends up basically using this dare to his advantage as much as he possibly can to get back at her because she is their bully at school. But it turns into so much more than that. It's insane. Please obviously be aware of trigger warnings going into this. The list is extensive and the spice is, it really goes there. It really goes there, but it's really good. And if you love spicy books and dark romance, this will be the best palette cleanser ever. And I guarantee you'll probably then go on to read The Loser's Duet. It's one of my favourite reads of last year. I gave the first book 5 stars. Incredible. And for how spicy this is, the writing is amazing. And then next up is another duet. This is probably slightly heftier reading if you consider the 2 books together. But it is the Dracula Duet, which is written by Karina Halley. And wow, this is spicy. So again, dark romance lovers, this is dark fantasy vampire romance. It's so good. It's forbidden love. It's teacher-student. It's set in Venice, in very film noir. Like, it gives that kind of energy when you're reading it. Super spicy, super taboo and forbidden, but there's got elements of like mystery. There's a lot of intrigue in it. It's so good. Blood Orange got me out of my Magnolia Parks reading slump, and then Black Rose is the second part of the duet. It does have a lot of backwards and forwards between past and present, but I like it in the first book. I don't love it so much in the second book, but this story is so different to anything I've read. Anything that I've read. I didn't love the second book so much as the first, but like, you can read the first one on its own, and if you decide you love it, you can then finish the story. It's amazing. It's really deliciously spicy. What it is about vampires and dark romance, but like, it's so like, it just sizzles, doesn't it? As there is a duet, both of the books, like this book is only 350 pages, so it would be really good to just pick up. You can get through this in a couple of days. The story is so mysterious that you can't put it down. You need to keep reading. It goes between past and present, so you get a lot of depth. There's a lot to delve into. Past, present, future. There's like a lot of foreshadowing for what's to come next in the second book. So I really recommend it. I loved it. I love a lot of the stuff that Karina Halley writes. She's really good at doing like dark gothic romance. So if you haven't read anything by her as well, this is a really good place to start. If you're currently in a slump, my heart goes out to you. Isn't it just so frustrating? Especially when reading is like your escape and your hobby and you just can't get into anything that you're reading. Then it's like, oh, I've actually got to watch TV. They are all my book recommendations to get you out of a reading slump. I hope that you managed to take something away from this. But don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any recommendations for videos that you want to see from me, then please leave them in the comments below. I'm going to start doing more vlog style videos as well. And thank you so much for watching. I need a list. I need to compile myself a list, otherwise I'm not going to get through this video. Because my thoughts are all over the place. If you are currently in a slump, of getting more uncomfortable, no. Oh my God, oh, no one knows, Poppy, no one knows.